Lou. All
Hello.
right. Next up, we're joined by Lou Zoanetti, who has graduate. You have a huge passion, and that was developed working at NAB Bank, where you managed the Enterprise Global Program for 5 years. You then went to Monash Uni, where you headed up Australia's first centrally managed work integrated learning program, and you placed over 3,000 students a year. And now you have your own business called Brightworks, which is an early careers consultancy service. And you help our talent acquisition functions realise the full potential of their graduate internship programs, and providing them the tools to attract and develop and retain your talent. And I'm just going to leave it there in the interest of time. We don't do a lot on graduate recruitment, so it's something I plan to change in 2022. So I'm absolutely thrilled you have joined us. And you're going to talk about why you can't afford to ignore Gen Z. And as I said to you just before we came on, I have a Gen something or other 13-year-old calling me a bin chicken at the moment. I'm trying to work out what that is. I'm going to hand over to you, Lou.
Thanks so much, Andrea. It's absolutely lovely to be here. There's a few new terms that I'm going to introduce you to right now. So yeet, high key, it's a vibe, hype beast, dank, sip tea, glow up, wig, fit check, big yikes, main character, stan and chuggy. This is the language of the new generation. Confused? That's why I'm here today, to give you an insight into this emerging group of young people and your future employees, Generation Z. Generation Z will soon pass millennials as the largest generation on Earth. Currently, there are almost 5 million Gen Z in Australia, making up almost 20% of the population. By 2030, Gen Z will represent 1/3 of the Australian workforce. And as workers, they will live longer, work later, transition roles more frequently, upskill and retrain regularly, and end up having more careers than any generation in history. As they gradually become the largest generation in the workforce, Gen Z will make their presence known in the workplace in a major, unprecedented way. The organisations that seek to understand, embrace and invest in Gen Z today will create a sustainable competitive advantage in the future. As talent acquisition specialists and HR specialists, now more than ever, it's vital that you understand the differences that set Gen Z apart from older generations, the changing expectations that this generation has towards their careers, including who they work for and what work they'll do. And most importantly, how can you attract, engage, and retain them early in their careers so that your company doesn't miss the opportunity to tap into this emerging generation of new talent who will be both your employees and your leaders of tomorrow. Trust me when I say you can't afford to ignore Gen Z. So before I go any further, let's take a closer look at Gen Z and who they are. Born between 1995 and 2009, Gen Z cannot remember a time before the September 11 attacks or the Sydney Olympics, where they didn't see Torpedo take home 5 medals. They can't remember a time before the internet. They've never used a phone with a cord on it or felt the pain of their CD skipping in their Discman. They've grown up in a world where content and information is free and shared, and one-click online purchasing is taken for granted. They are the most educated generation on the planet. Half of Gen Zs have a university degree or are working towards one, and they are entering a workforce where they, rather than jobs, are in demand. And Belinda and Rebecca highlighted the challenge with supply and demand really well in their talk this morning. Gen Z are social. Due to social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube, Gen Z are influenced by a network that is larger in number and geography than previous generations. and they're connected 24/7. They're highly visual. Google has 5.4 billion searches a day, but YouTube is a close second with almost 5 billion searches a day, with many Gen Z opting to watch a video summarizing an issue rather than read an article discussing it. Gen Z are mobile, not only in terms of using technology constantly and when they're on the go, but they're also moving homes, jobs, careers faster than ever before. And today's school leaver is expected to have 18 jobs across 6 careers. They find importance in work-life balance, team focus, empowerment, support, flexibility, involvement, creativity, and innovation. And they are characterized by a global mindset, the love of lifelong learning, and entrepreneurship. The future depends on understanding and engaging this generation. So today I'm going to be sharing my insights and experiences to help you tap into this emerging generation. I'm going to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on graduates and the graduate recruitment process. And finally, I'll share my top 6 tips for getting your early career strategy off the ground. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, why bother with Gen Z? Our organisation needs people with experience, or we don't have time to train inexperienced workers, or it's too hard to get a program off the ground. So I'm going to talk about some benefits of bringing Gen Z into your organisation right now. So first and foremost, the early bird catches the worm. Between now and 2027, the Australian workforce will lose 4 million workers. So that's in 6 years, we're losing 4 million workers. And we've just heard some very sobering statistics from Belinda and Rebecca about that very issue. So now more than ever is the time to snap up Gen Z talent. Train them and retain them for as long as possible. Previously, grads may have joined your business only to leave in the first couple of years, but right now, job loyalty for this generation is going through the roof. And Accenture data shows that graduates are 3 times more likely to stay if their skills are fully utilised. So if you can challenge them in their work, provide clear career paths and development opportunities, you'll reap the rewards of bringing them into your organisation early. Secondly, they're ready and eager to work. They won't hesitate to gain valuable career experience. Work and the value of work experience is a top priority for Gen Z, with over 70% of graduates on formal graduate programs in Australia starting work with some form of experience. And over half of these same grads have obtained professional work experience via internships. They aren't in it for the money. They're passionate about the work they're doing if they believe they're making a difference. Gen Z are motivated by purpose-driven work over big paychecks. Money is definitely not the first thing in the list of expectations that Gen Z candidates have towards their future employer. They're more focused on their career and the opportunities for advancement rather than salary. They are resilient and independent and are comfortable in a fast-paced, result-orientated world, which is the world they grew up in. They're incredible problem solvers, using solutions like tech to help them find the information that they need. They're resilient and used to adapting to a fast rate of change. They are true digital natives. They have integrated technology seamlessly into their lives, and it has infiltrated every area of their lifestyle and relationships, and they're just a few clicks away from any piece of information at any time. They are born multitaskers who know exactly how to use technology to find the information that they need. They also expect equality and inclusion. They have grown up in a world where diversity, inclusion, equality are a given. They are more accepting of social and cultural differences than any previous generation. In the workplace, their attitudes can help break down systemic social issues, and they are a voice for inclusion. So now you have a feel about what Gen Z can bring to an organisation. Let's shift gear. Ask not what Gen Z can do for your company, but what your company can do for Gen Z. This generation doesn't merely want a paycheck. They have expectations of their employers. And let's face it, as the war on talent doesn't look to be ending anytime soon, they can afford to be picky about who they work for. So what is Gen Z looking for? So the first one up there is regular feedback. This age group crave regular, timely feedback. Formal feedback channels like annual performance reviews are not frequent enough for this age group. They're looking for smaller pieces of actionable feedback offered more frequently to stay on track and make progress towards improvements. Like us all, they're looking for that work-life balance. And I heard Rebecca just refer to that as your whole self, which is a nice term for it. They want to work in organisations that value flexibility and provide the tools to enable flexible working from different locations, working in different time zone with convenient business travel and work-life balance. They're absolutely looking for a healthy corporate culture, and they will do their research before applying for a role at any organisation. So Glassdoor, Seek reviews, and above all else, Whirlpool are more important than ever for this age demographic. They won't accept roles with organisations that don't align with their values. So according to research by Deloitte, 77% of Gen Z place importance on working at organisations whose values align with their own. They want to make a positive social impact with their lifestyle and their work choices, and they want to contribute to the world, knowing the work they undertake has real purpose. And above all else, Gen Z are looking for skill and career development. They're looking for companies that invest in their professional development and do that to attract and retain top talent. They're looking for opportunities to continuously upskill, learn, and progress. They're looking for companies that can offer a clear career path that they can work towards. Of course, it's not all about what Gen Z want. This is also about your business and your needs. The expectations from employers on what graduates will bring to the table has significantly shifted over the last 10 years. So you'll see there up on the slide, we've got two sets of employability skills. The first on the left is the employability skills from 2011, and this is from the National Association of Colleges and Employers in America. This is the Job Outlook survey in 2011. And on the right, we can see the skills and employers, the skills employers will be looking for in 2025 from their employees. And this is from the latest Future of Jobs report that the World Economic Forum put out in October last year. So what we can see with these two sets of skills side by side is that we see an increase in the complexity and nuance of each skill, with a strong focus on technical skills, analytical problem solving, thinking and reasoning, creativity and innovation becoming very relevant for workplaces by 2025. Now, the 2025 skills are for all employees. So what does this mean in the context of Gen Z? We need to consider whether they'll be ready with these skills come 2025. Some skills like tech use, design, active learning, resilience and flexibility are synonymous with this emerging generation, but they may struggle in other areas, and employees may find themselves, rather than universities, helping to bridge these gaps through early career development programs with tailored learning and development pathways. The skills required from future employees, for future employees is not the only change to be mindful of. I've been in the early careers industry for over 10 years, and I've seen a lot of change in this time, but none more than during COVID-19, which I'm sure everyone can relate to. Our younger generations were hit particularly hard by COVID-19. According to McCrindle, 48% of Gen Z said that COVID-19 had an extreme or substantial impact on their lives. And this is compared to 45% for millennials, 36% for Gen X, and 18% for boomers. Gen Z students were impacted socially and academically, with many attending school and university over video classrooms for the best part of 2 academic years. And in some cases, we've got students who are finishing university having, or maybe a master's, having only spent 5 weeks on campus, particularly in Melbourne. From a work perspective, the Australian Bureau of Statistics found that Australians under 20 were 4 times more likely to have lost their job during COVID than Australians 30 and over. From a graduate industry perspective, COVID has impacted activities in a variety of ways. In graduate recruitment, the industry responded really quickly to adopt new digital practices, including video interviews, which a lot of organisations were already doing, then also introduced virtual assessment centres and virtual individual interviews. And the anecdotal feedback from grad recruiters in my network suggests that most are going to continue with these practices as standard in the foreseeable future. The benefit of switching to online assessments like assessment centres, the benefits were significant. Lots of money was saved, there was less business impact, and it was a more accessible recruitment process for all candidates, regardless of their location. What we also saw was that it opened up applications from regional and rural candidates who could access assessment centres and interviews online. The other impact of COVID on the grad industry was that applications are well down on pre-COVID figures. Anecdotal feedback from the industry is that applications are down about 30% for the last 2 years. And I've heard this from clients across engineering, banking and finance and tech. The grad recruitment industry largely believe this is due to delayed graduation dates, with more students electing to go into further study or changing their degree type. And of course, the international student market is very small in Australia at the moment. Many graduate recruiters have had to move to 2 recruitment campaigns per year in order to fill programs, and some are carrying vacancies into their talent programs next year. Another change in the grad industry was more of a focus on well-being, with mental health support being the new normal. COVID-19 has brought well-being to the forefront for all employees, as we're more aware of the impact of mental health on our staff and, by association, our workplaces. But for the Gen Z audience, this is particularly important, as they have felt the isolation of lockdown more significantly than other generations, and in some cases have completed large components of their tertiary studies online. Speaking to clients, we're finding that grads are starting grad programs really tired. There's a mismatch between where the grads are and the employer expectations. So when the graduates are starting their jobs, it's almost their finish line. So finding the job is the finish line, you know, woohoo, I found a job. And so that's like they're kind of collapsing over that finish line. But for employees, that's just the starting point of the relationship. So we're finding that there's quite a mismatch between the energy levels. And finally, on a very good note, Gen Z job loyalty is up for the first time ever. 2021 Australian Association of Graduate Employer Data, so that's the AAGE, which is the Association for Graduate Employers in Australia. The 2021 data shows that almost half of current grads expect to stay at their current organisation for 5 years or more. Almost half will stay for 5 years or more of Gen Z. This has gone up 16 percentage points since pre-COVID. So we know both talent acquisition and HR specialists can reap the reward of this increased job loyalty and retention. For talent acquisition, it means less recruitment and less backfilling of empty roles. And for HR, it provides an internal talent pool that is engaged and ready to be mobilised into the areas of need for your business in 3 to 5 years' time. In this new world context, I have 6 top tips for engaging Gen Z talent and building the best practice early careers programs. And no matter if you're from an organisation of 50 or 50,000, these are all worth considering if you want to snap up the brightest emerging talent graduating today. For those on the call from smaller companies, this might help you build a business case for introducing a dedicated early careers plan for your organisation. So here we go, my top tips, top 6. Number 1, if you have a grad or internship program or you want to build one, get really clear on the program strategy and design. This is the number 1 thing I hear from the clients I work with. There's a lack of clarity around the objectives of their graduate or internship programs and a lack of communication to the business about what these programs are designed to achieve. When thinking about your program strategy, you need to be really clear on what the program aims to achieve. What are the objectives? What are the capabilities you're lacking in your current workforce? What are the capabilities you need to build through your early careers programs? Will it be a talent-based program designed to create future leaders, or is it a resourcing-based program to fill the workforce needs that you have right now? Depending on the type of outcome you want to achieve, it will influence your program design. Gone are the days where grad programs are built without even thinking about the user experience. And when I started working in the grad industry 10 years ago, it was certainly very much focused on what the business needed. And then the grads kind of came second to that, the grad experience. Best practice programs now take both the employee and the business needs into account. With my clients, I use a human-centered design approach to ensure that the programs we're designing meet the needs and expectations of the participants, so the grads, and that it builds capability through carefully designed rotational and on-the-job experiences with a tailored learning and development plan and meets the business needs. My top tip number 2 is build strategic university partnerships. So partnering with unis is a strategic way, is key to building a diverse talent pool for your business. Most unis now have large-scale industry engagement and partnership teams. I used to work at Monash University and I led an industry engagement team of 25 people. It was large-scale and multidisciplinary. So we actually managed all the internship experiences for 6 faculties. And many universities are making it much easier for industry to navigate the university and create partnership with specialist areas. Earlier this year, I used Australian university graduation data to identify key universities to approach for a client who wanted to tap into a diverse talent pool and target students graduating from key discipline areas. The result of this program was a client with a clear plan for their university engagement, knowing they were targeting the exact students they needed. Still on campus, when it comes to the student cohort, brand awareness starts from day one at university or before. So this means getting involved in student placements, work integrated learning, or your own formal internship program. It could also mean offering a virtual internship to help cultivate a pool of students interested in your organisation. There has been a movement away from attending multiple careers fairs over the past 5 to 8 years. Most companies have significantly cut down their attendance at careers fairs and now focused on attending 2 to 3 careers fairs. The impact of COVID is that a large number of careers fairs have gone virtual, and that's significantly reducing the cost to attend. Number 3, graduate attraction and EVP. So the attraction process for a grad program or an internship program presents a perfect opportunity to showcase your company and give candidates a sense of what it's like to work for your organisation. To do this well, you need a dedicated graduate EVP specifically designed to appeal and attract a Gen Z audience. Your graduate EVP should focus on showcasing what your organisation is doing to address the Gen Z needs I previously highlighted. So skill development, career progression, feedback processes, social impact, positive corporate culture and flexibility. It should also give the candidate insight into what the program structure might look like and showcase day in the life information and testimonials from current grads. Number 4, graduate recruitment. Now, I'm not going to tell a bunch of talent acquisition specialists how to do what they do best. All I will say for Gen Z is the recruitment process is a consumer experience. So Gen Z expect the recruitment process to be visual, interactive, and mobile. And according to Hayes, over 75% of Gen Z candidates would consider abandoning an online application if it took longer than 15 minutes. So keep the process simple. And because it's a really uncertain time and a new time for many candidates, so many students, it's important that you communicate frequently and clearly. Number 5, equip people leaders with the skills to manage Gen Z. So Harvard Business Review states that managers account for as much as 70% variance in the employee engagement scores. Selecting who manages your early career talent is essential to the engagement and retention of your grads and interns, and ultimately the success of your whole program. So where possible, partner your new talent with your experienced high-performing leaders. Based on my experience, many companies use early career programs as a chance to develop new people leaders with their organisation. So they'll allocate early careers talent with first-time managers. For this to work successfully, your organisation needs to build the capability of those first-time managers through dedicated people leadership or Gen Z-specific training. And lastly, tip number 6, if you're not doing anything formal in the early career space, start with an internship program. They're a great way of bringing fresh and diverse perspectives into your business. It's a chance to try some innovative recruitment and onboarding models with a smaller cohort. They're smaller in duration, so the commitment isn't as extensive as a graduate program. You can also test drive new talent on an internship program and use the on-the-job performance to determine whether to offer a more permanent position. It also allows you to build equity in that early careers market and expand presence on campus. And with internships, it's a really great way of having a strong focus on diversity well beyond gender. So a lot of companies use internship programs to explore other areas of inclusion, including cultural and linguistic diversity, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander status, disability, neurodiversity, and LGBTIQ+. And if you do decide to start a grad program in the future, your internship program will provide a very successful pipeline for a grad program. Feedback from current interns on programs indicate that more than 4 out of 5 will accept a role in a formal grad program at the same company if offered to them. So that's more than 80% will stay on. There was a time when people were saying, the robots are coming, the robots are coming. And I'm here to say Gen Z is coming, and they're different from previous generations, perhaps more so than the differences between Gen Y and Gen X and baby boomers. When we consider that they'll soon pass millennials as the largest generation on Earth, and by 2030, which is only 9 years away, they will represent 1/3 of the Australian workforce. We can't ignore the fact that Gen Z is coming, but they're nothing to be scared of. Rather, it's the organisations that seek to understand, embrace and invest in Gen Z today that will strengthen their talent pipeline and create a sustainable competitive advantage for the future. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lou. What I'm going to do, we've had one question in the chat group. I'm going to turn the presentation off now. We're going to go back to round tables.